One evening, a husband, thinking he was being clever, teased his wife, saying, "Maybe we should start washing your clothes and slim fast. It might shave a few inches off your backside." His wife, far from amused, decided she couldn't let such a comment slide without a little payback. The next morning, as the husband pulled out a pair of underwear from his drawer, he noticed a puff of powdery dust fill the air. "What on earth is this?" he muttered, baffled, as he shook them out. "April," he called out to his wife in the bathroom. "Why did you put talcum powder in my underwear?" With a sly grin, she replied, "Oh, honey, that's not talcum powder. It's Miracle-Gro." A government social worker was visiting the reservation for the first time when he noticed a heated argument between a woman and an elderly Native American man. The old man looked like he could use some help, so the social worker stepped in, gently pulling him aside to defuse the situation. "Wow, that lady sure seems angry with you," the social worker said. The old man shook his head. "She no lady. She my wife." "You don't say. What's her name?" "Wife named Three Horse." The social worker chuckled. "Three Horse? Now that's an unusual name. How'd she come by that?" The old man sighed. "Nag, nag, nag." Iris H.R. Hadi no T bien hami for over 5 years. Yupo en hiar retur en hiar faith ar cursed hiar heavily. "Where have you bien llts time, child? Whyddy no t riddy tos, no t even a line? Why didn't ty call? Cny no t understand what yputer old mother through?" Teachy girl, crying, replied, "Dad, I became a prostitute. Why what? Goody outa here, why shameless as harlot? Sinner! You are a discracky tots Catholic family. Okay, Dad. Yes, why wish. I own a why can me be ckto give muem ts luxurious fu our coat, tilly ddtoat and bedroom mansion, plus a 5 million saving s certificate. F4me little brother, tsguld Rolex. And dfry daddy, tg sparklin gnew Mercedes limit de edicio and convertibly that s park de out city plus a membership tot chi country yclub. Take us a breath. NDAN invitation FRYLLTO spendi NW years EVION bordi MYNEW yaktin chi Riviera dot. Wati YSIT Y side Y hadi become? Say us, Dad. Girl, crying G again. A prostitute, Daddy. Oh. My goodness. Why scared me halfto death, girl? I though ty side a Protestant. Kami hurry and d give yer old to d a hug. Bob arrives at the Pearly Gates, where St. Peter looks him over and asks, "Have you ever done anything truly brave?" Bob thinks for a moment and says, "Well, there was this one time. I was traveling through the Black Hills in South Dakota when I saw a gang of bikers harassing a young woman. I told them to leave her alone, but they just laughed. So, I walked up to the biggest, meanest-looking guy. Smacked him in the face, kicked over his bike, ripped out his nose ring, and threw it on the ground. Then I looked at the rest of them and said, 'Who's next?' St. Peter, impressed, leans in. 'Wow. When did this happen?' Bob glances at his watch. About 2 minutes ago." One day in Ireland, 2 leprechauns knock on the door of a convent. The Mother Superior answers, surprised to see the 2 little green men. "How may I help you?" she asks. "Mother Superior," the younger leprechaun begins. "Are there any leprechaun nuns in your convent?" She thinks for a moment and replies, "No, we don't have any leprechaun nuns here." The leprechaun frowns. "All right then, do you know of any leprechaun nuns in the county?" She ponders and says, "As far as I know, there aren't any in the county either." The leprechaun sighs but pushes on. "Well then, are there any leprechaun nuns in all of Ireland?" The Mother Superior shakes her head. "I don't believe so. Not in this convent, not in the county, And not anywhere in Ireland. The younger leprechaun turns to his friend and groans. I told ya, you were shagged in a penguin. This construction worker was laying a full room carpet in this house. And upon ending his work he realized his backpack was missing. Checking the area he could notice a lump in the carpet, the size of his backpack. He couldn't believe how unlucky he was and he decided to take a desperate measure. He was not going to destroy the recently placed carpet, and inside his backpack there wasn't anything really valuable. So he starts hammering that lump to the ground. After a few minutes the backpack inside the carpet was flat and unnoticeable. Later that afternoon the housewife gets home and is happy with the placing of the carpet. She goes to the kitchen to write him a check for the job well done and returns to him. Here, the check in your backpack that you left in the kitchen. By the way, have you seen my cat? There was a man who had worked all of his life and has saved all of his money. He was a real cheapskate when it came to his money. He loved money more than just about anything, and just before he died, he said to his wife, Now listen, when I die, I want you to take all my money and place it in the casket with me. Because I want to take all my money to the afterlife. So he got his wife to promise him with all her heart that when he died she would put all the money in the casket with him. When one day he died, he was stretched out in the casket, and the wife was sitting there in black next to their best friend. When they finished the ceremony, just before the undertakers got ready to close the casket, the wife said, Wait a minute! She had a shoebox with her. She came over with the box and placed it in the casket. Then the undertakers locked the casket and rolled it away. Her friend said, I hope you weren't crazy enough to put all that money in there with that stingy old man. She said, Yes, I promised. I'm a good Christian, I can't lie. I promised him that I was to put that money in that casket with him. You mean to tell me you put every cent of his money in the casket with him? I sure did, said the wife. I got it all together, put it into my account, and wrote him a check. Two crocodiles were lounging by the river, enjoying the sun. After a while, the smaller one turned to the bigger one and said, I don't understand how you're so much bigger than me. We're the same age, and we were the same size as kids. What happened? The bigger croc replied. Well, what have you been eating? The smaller croc said. Mostly politicians who come here with their mistresses, just like you. The big croc nodded. I see. So where do you catch them? On the other side of the river, near the car park. The bigger croc thought for a moment. Same here. So, what's your method? The smaller croc explained. I wait under one of their fancy cars, like a Lexus or Mercedes. When someone unlocks the door, I jump out, grab them by the leg, and shake them until they're too weak to fight back. The bigger croc chuckled. I think I see your problem. By the time you're done shaking them, there's nothing left but a briefcase. A man and his wife are at a restaurant, and the husband keeps staring at an old drunken lady swigging her gin at a nearby table. His wife asks, Do you know her? Yes, sighs the husband. She's my ex-wife. She took to drinking right after we divorced 7 years ago, and I hear she hasn't been sober since. My God, says the wife. Who would think a person could go on celebrating that long? A blonde received a fishing rod for her birthday and decided to try ice fishing. Early in the morning, she gathered her gear and headed out to the ice. After finding the perfect spot, she cut a large hole and dropped her line in. Suddenly, a voice echoed, There are no fish there. Puzzled, she moved to another spot, cut another hole, and cast her line again. Once more, the voice warned, There are no fish there. Determined, she moved again, only to hear the same voice. There are no fish there. Frustrated, she looked up and saw an annoyed man staring at her. How do you know there are no fish here? She demanded. The man sighed. Well, for starters, this is a hockey rink. And secondly, you're going to have to pay for those holes. An Irish housewife is at home, being a homemaker, while her husband is away working at the Guinness factory, when she hears a knock on the door. Upon answering the door, she sees it is two of her husband's friends and coworkers. "Mary," says the first coworker, "I'm afraid we have some terrible news. You see, there was an accident at the factory today, and your husband fell into a vat of the Guinness." "My God!" exclaims Mary. "Will he be all right? How badly is he hurt?" "Well," says the coworker, "the fact is, Mary, he didn't make it, he drowned." "No," sobs Mary. "Please tell me it was at least a quick death, and painless?" "Well, you see, the thing of it is, Mary, he got up 3 times to pee." A worried housewife sprang to the telephone when it rang and listened with relief to the kindly voice in her ear. "How are you, darling?" she said. "What kind of a day are you having?" "Oh, mother," said the woman on the phone, breaking into bitter tears. "I've had such a bad day. The baby won't eat and the washing machine broke down. I haven't had a chance to go shopping, and besides, I've just sprained my ankle and I have to hobble around. On top of that, the house is a mess and I'm supposed to have 2 couples to dinner tonight." The mother was shocked and was at once all sympathy. "Oh, darling," she said, "sit down, relax, and close your eyes. I'll be over in half an hour. I'll do your shopping, clean up the house, and cook your dinner for you. I'll feed the baby and I'll call a repairman I know who'll be at your house to fix the washing machine promptly. Now stop crying. I'll do everything. In fact, I'll even call George at the office and tell him he ought to come home and help out for once." "George?" said the woman. "Who's George?" "Why, George, your husband. Is this 223-1374? "No, this is 223-1375. "Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I have the wrong number." There was a short pause and the other woman said, "Does this mean you're not coming over?" A judge was interviewing a woman regarding her pending divorce and asked, "What are the grounds for your divorce?" She replied, "About 4 acres and a nice little home in the middle of the property with a stream running by." "No," he said. "I mean, what is the foundation of this case?" "It is made of concrete, brick and mortar," she responded. "I mean," he continued, "what are your relations like?" "I have an aunt and uncle living here in town, and so do my husband's parents," he said. "Do you have a real grudge?" "No," she replied. "We have a 2-car carport and have never really needed one." "Please," he tried again. "Is there any infidelity in your marriage?" "Yes, both my son and daughter have stereo sets. We don't necessarily like the music, but the answer to your questions is yes." "Ma'am, does your husband ever beat you up?" "Yes," she responded. "About twice a week he gets up earlier than I do." Finally, in frustration, the judge asked, "Lady, why do you want a divorce?" "Oh, I don't want a divorce," she replied. "I've never wanted a divorce. My husband does. He said he can't communicate with me." The biggest hurdle they faced was that the teacher insisted on no baby talk. "You need to use big people words," she'd always remind them. She asked Chris what he had done over the weekend. "I went to visit my Nana." "No, you went to visit your grandmother. Use big people words." She then asked Mitchell what he had done. "I took a ride on a choo-choo," she said. "No, you took a ride on a train. Use big people words." She then asked Bobby what he had done. "I read a book," he replied. "That's wonderful," the teacher said. "What book did you read?" Bobby thought about it, then puffed out his little chest with great pride and said, "Winnie the A man was driving home from work when he remembered it was the 20th anniversary of his marriage. He still needed to get a gift for his wife, so he stopped at the department store on his way home. He quickly went to the lingerie department to pick up a gift, and a sales associate was very happy to help. The sales associate asked what his budget was, to which he responded about $50. She showed him some lingerie sets for around the $50 mark, and they were all very basic and underwhelming to him. Suddenly, a nightie caught the man's eye. It was very sheer with a thin bit of trim around the neckline, but cost $499. He decided that it is his 20th anniversary. He should spend a little on his wife, so he had the sales associate ring him up and wrap it up for him. When he eventually got home, he handed his wife the wrapped package and said, "Happy 20th anniversary, my dear. Why don't you go try this on?" She quickly disappeared up to the bedroom and unwrapped the gift when she found that the sales associate had left the receipt in the box. $500? The wife thought to herself. There's barely anything here. I can return this and get something I really want with the $500. I'll just strip down and wear a little bit of string around my neck. My husband won't know that I'm naked. He'll think I'm wearing the nightie. And so she does. She calls her husband up to the bedroom. When he walks in, he looks his wife up and down and lets out a low whistle. She asks, "What do you think, honey?" He replied, "Well, for what I spent on that, you think they could have ironed it?"